All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the What's Next podcast. I'm your host, Levi Casada, and my co-host today, coming again from North County, which is always fun to bring this gentleman in. He's always here for laughs, good laughs, or do we make fun of him? I don't know.
Whatever you feel.
Can it be both?
But please, yeah, it can be both. Please welcome Nathan Wood, co-star today.
Appreciate it. Always fun time being here.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? Oh, you're getting a long one. You're getting a long one over there.
Standing ovation.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming down all the way from North County, dude, setting this up with us. I know we had some issues scheduling. Holiday season, we're getting into it. Full swing, man. We're December.
Yeah,
early
wild.
December. Where'd Thanksgiving go? Where did November go? This year go? I don't know. But again, thanks. I'm glad we got this scheduled today before the end of the year. I want to introduce my guest right now. We're just going to roll right into it because there's a lot of information. He came all the way from Canada. I'm just kidding. He's here now. But this is our first guest from, I think, out of the country.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. Please welcome Tyler Davidson. Give you a little standing ovation as well.
Proud to make you international.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
There we go.
Yeah, we're international now.
Yeah.
We're going everywhere. Well, Tyler, thanks for coming in today, man. I know we had some scheduling issues, I think, last week and whatnot, but thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Not your first podcast.
No.
You're used to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a natural.
Well, we'll see.
Like your beard, dude. Look at that beard.
It's something the wife won't let me get rid of. So.
Really?
Yeah.
When's the last time you shaved that?
Oh, God. Actually, I shaved it once during COVID. During all the craziness, I was, you start reading things online. It's like, oh, yeah, beards are dirty or whatever it was. They're unsanitary.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just went in the bathroom. I was like, let's just take care of this. And I shaved it off and walked out in the living room. She's like, oh, my God, I'm going to live with this guy for the next 6 months while we're locked in quarantine.
Okay.
So one time, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
I'm just going to say this. It was definitely not 6 months because that's such a good beard that grew back in a
couple
week.
days.
Yeah.
A couple days. Yeah, it's
yeah.
bad. So
Yeah.
5 o'clock shadow by noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the grays going too. You can play Santa.
Yeah, I'm maybe this year now, but I actually used to coach basketball, and so when I was yelling at all the kids when they weren't touching the baseline or screwing up on a play or something like that, I always tell them, like, every time you screw up, I get one more gray hair. So like let's tone it down, let's play it right, and they didn't listen.
They didn't listen. It was fully brown when you started.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, it's definitely coming in like the mutton chops. They're all gray now. So
Yeah.
We just ended November. Where's the mustache?
oh, trust me, you don't want to see that.
No.
I did that once, and I was like, no, that's not a good look for anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I grew the mustache to everyone's chagrin. Like, I'd come into our sales meetings, and everyone's like, kind of giving me a weird look. I forgot I had it on my face, but everyone's like, you got a mustache right now.
Instantly, we're like, go shave that name.
Same with my wife. But then I shaved it, and I walked downstairs, and she kind of looked at me weird. Because when you shave your face, you can't even recognize yourself.
Yeah.
And she's like, maybe I did like the mustache.
Yeah. You get used to it, right? It's on your skin. It's on you.
Yeah, it kind of helps my face. I don't have much hair, so, I got to grow somewhere.
Yeah. Well, you guys both look good. I've been growing this since I was 18. So yeah, that's kind of how it is right now.
Catching up.
Yeah, I'm catching up. Well, let's go back to your childhood because you're talking about basketball. So like you're playing basketball out in Canada. Let's tell me about that scene back in the day.
Well, back in the day, I was probably one of 5 people in Canada playing basketball. Everybody else was playing hockey, so I kind of got looked at a little weird, but just grew up with a passion for it. So played all through high school, ended up playing in college as well.
Yeah.
That's how I came to the U.S. was, playing basketball down here, and just never left. I mean, it's just why would you leave San Diego? So just came down here, stayed. And,
what part of Canada are you from?
East Coast, so Ottawa.
Ottawa?
We were more in the country, we're 30 minutes away from civilization.
Yeah.
And that was, again, part of the reason why I was just so attracted to this is just everything is close by. Everything is within 10 minutes or within an hour if you need to go somewhere different. But, it was a little bit far removed for me and wanted to be a little bit more in the hustle and bustle.
Did you grow really fast? Like, did you get your height really early on in age, and that's maybe what drew you to?
Yeah, I was 6'3", 6'4" as a freshman in high school.
Oh, my gosh.
What?
Maybe 150 pounds. So
you were dunking dunking pretty early?
Yeah, probably sophomore year I was starting to be able to dunk.
Yeah.
And
That's wild.
yeah, but every coach or every prospect that you talk to, they were, oh, you're going to be 6'8". I was like 6'4", and then I stopped.
Really?
Which, thank God, because I don't want to be 6'8" as a grown up,
Yeah.
as a kid and in college and everything like that.
That's cool.
It's cool, but trying to find shoes and pants when you're 6'8",
Right?
not so easy.
Not so easy.
Even 6'4", it's like you go to wherever and it's your shoes stop at 12. So I'm like, I'm always trying to find different size shoes wherever I go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that way.
Well, because you're trim too, so most like jeans and pants, if you get a smaller size,
Yeah.
it's either too tight on the legs and too short. Like, yeah, I get.
So
that.
he goes double XL, and he's like, it's baggy
It
up
just goes
here.
wide.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough. Well, I feel bad for you. I really don't because I wish I was 6'4".
Had to shop at big and tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your passion for basketball started young. No hockey. So apparently there's a lot of snow out in the East Coast of Canada, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Ottawa's like known for their hockey team too.
Yeah.
Like a big one, right?
Yeah.
Did you have two left feet, or you just kind of just didn't like the ice? Did your
Well,
family play? Your dad or anybody?
We moved around a lot as kids.
Yeah.
So my dad, he had a lot of different jobs. So we were traveling all through Canada, all through the U.S. And so I never really was immersed in the hockey atmosphere until I moved back to Canada, which was like third, fourth grade. And by then it was just everybody was light years ahead. And it just never excited me. I was
Yeah.
always taller than everybody else. And so it was like all these little guys skating around me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go on this court where it's a little bit more grounded.
Yeah.
And I'm taller than you, so we're good. So,
Well,
yeah, just
Tell me you didn't. Well, you played hockey a little bit then.
a little bit. But, again, just nothing competitive at all.
Yeah.
He might bleep this out, but he's a big time rollerblader. So
Okay.
Me?
He can-
That would be I dabble.
We used to play a lot of street hockey. So,
Thank you.
rollerblades.
Yeah.
and- yeah.
Street hockey.
Yeah, neighbors
Yeah.
hated it because we were all over their lawns and everything like that. But
It's so funny. I always think of Canada. And my dad's from Calgary, but I always think of Canada as like perpetual winter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what do you mean you played street hockey? Why not just play real hockey? Isn't there ice all the time?
Yeah.
But yeah, not the case. Beautiful country.
So do you get back there? You got a lot of family there, or did everybody move?
just my dad down here. So
Okay.
my dad lives in San Diego here as well. But the rest of my family is back in Canada. So
Oh, nice. So you head out there often, or no?
not as much as I'd like to or that I should, but actually we're going next week. My wife and I were going to go visit family up there, and so get away for a little bit for the holiday times. We're hoping we're going to have snow by this time of year. Every year is different.
Every year is different.
We've had some years where, as you were saying, it's like we have snow in October,
Right.
and it stays on the ground until May, and then other years snow doesn't
February.
hit till January, February.
Yeah.
So luck of the draw. So we're hoping to get back to some snow.
Still
Nice.
Ottawa though is where your family is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going into kind of this holiday season right now, do you have any childhood memories or traditions you guys did? I mean, being like a kind of a town where had snow, or do you have anything that you brought back with you here? I know it's a little different because there's no snow in San Diego, but do you have that holiday tradition or something that you just remember?
No real holiday traditions. I mean, our family was never huge into Christmas or anything like that. I do have vivid childhood memories. Back in, I think it was like 98, we had the ice storm, which was, it covered all over, Ontario,
Yeah.
all over most of Canada, parts of New York and stuff like that. And it was like a 3-week period where schools were shut down. And that was like the most fun you can ever think of as a kid. During the dead of winter, they're just like, tomorrow, no school. Next day, no school. Next day, no school. And it just stayed that way. So you wake up every day and you're just like, you're outside playing. When you're that age, when you're middle school, elementary school, it's a lot of fun. Nowadays, shoveling the snow and cleaning off the car, no, not
Now you got
all.
responsibility.
Ice storms and snowstorms, I think, are
Very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
I went to Dallas for a year, and I mean, there was the one year that they only have them like every 5 years, but it was a bad ice storm, and
Yeah.
They're dangerous, right?
they're dangerous. I mean, they literally tell people like leave, because I coach volleyball too, so I was at a gym, and they're like, if you're not in the championship, like leave now. It's going to be icy. They're dangerous because you can't slow down on the freeways. You can't like on ramps. You're just even if you're braking, you're sliding down, and it's just scarier,
Yeah.
And trucks can't get to the grocery store, so you're out of stuff. And yeah.
Well, we had a lot of power outages because the ice was so
Same.
thick
Yeah.
that it would lean on the telephone lines or the power lines, and they would actually just topple over. And when one goes, they all go. So
Yeah.
it was billions of dollars worth of damage. So again, looking back at it, fun for me as a kid, not so fun for the economy, not so fun for the the adults who were still having to go to work through all of that. But,
yeah.
as a kid, looking back on it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, now you're excited. So you're in college. You're excited to get out of Canada, out of the weather. But then you go to New York, Rochester, to go to school. Tell me about your college time there.
So actually went to Palomar College here for 2 years.
So you came all the way to the West Coast
So
first.
I came to West Coast first. Actually started at Pepperdine. I went through a long journey. I had a 6-year college journey, which again, straight A's through the whole time. So it wasn't like I was failing everything, but just had no direction, no idea where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. So I started out, I went to Pepperdine for a year, realized that paying $45,000 to just basically knock out your GEs, your general eds, didn't make sense. So I was like, let's get out of here. I went to Palomar, played basketball there, got kind of some direction of where I wanted to go, and played basketball, did pretty well there, and decided I wanted to be a teacher. That was actually what my passion was in at the time.
Adolescent education. Yeah.
And so I got a scholarship in Rochester, New York, went out there, played basketball. That's actually where I met my wife, convinced her to move back here after I graduated. But
she's from there then.
Yeah, she's from there. But yeah, I got my degree in education, and it was kind of a moment where I looked back on it, and you start talking to a lot of teachers, like, what's your passion? Why do you do this? And they started saying, well, every year I feel like I really touch like 3 or 4 kids' lives.
Yeah. And
I started doing the math in my head. I'm too much of an analytic kind of guy. And I was like, you know what? I probably have 200 kids come through my class every day. Mm-hmm. And if I'm influencing like 3 or 4 of them, that number doesn't work for me. Yeah. Like there's 190 some that are just falling through the cracks.
Right.
That you're moving on to the next person. You know, it's not like you're ruining their life or anything like that. They're still going to turn out good. But to have that deep, impactful impact on somebody's life, it didn't make sense.
That makes, total sense. Did you get getting into that field or that education part of it, did you have anybody like a mentor, anybody growing up that you wanted to be a teacher?
Yeah, actually, a lot of my family was educators. Okay. So my grandfather was a principal. He actually taught in Nigeria for a while. Like they traveled all over the place. He was really well known for that. Mm-hmm. My aunt and uncle, both in education. So there's a lot of people in my family that it's like, it almost felt like going into the family business. Right. And because, like I said, I was struggling to find a direction, it was almost like, you know what, this seems like a great career path because, you know, you can work for 25 years, you get summers off, then you get your pension and all of that. Yeah. And it just wasn't right for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, teaching is probably one of the best and the biggest calling you can have. It just didn't sit right for me. Yeah. So,
what did you want to teach? Like, what was your
biology?
Biology.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a hard topic.
It's hard, but it's also insanely interesting, at least to me. I'm sure there were a lot of kids who were like, no, learning about the cell, you know, the mitochondria, everybody knows it's the powerhouse of the cell, right? Yep. Like after that, everybody doesn't remember any of it. But, you know, that was part of it too, was there was just too much of the curriculum was set in stone. You couldn't have any leeway. It was, everything was teach to the test. And so it like I said, it's great passion, great calling for a lot of people. It just wasn't for me.
When you got out of college, did you head to the classroom right away? Did you do any time there?
No, I did my student teaching, which is all, every teacher will go through that process where you got to go through the student teaching and you go through basically like 6 months of figuring it out and being a teacher, and had some fun with that. But I also had some like major setbacks, like some almost like political stuff within the school districts that I was at that just didn't sit right with me either. Actually, the last day of my student teaching, there was a fight, and all of the teachers ahead of time, they tell you, do not get involved in any fights. Like you can't touch a kid. Like if you do, you're going to get, you know, in a lawsuit and all that kind of stuff. And you hear it over and over. It's ingrained in your brain. But then I'm walking down the hallway and I see this fight happening. And, you know, it's like these 2 probably 15-year-old women. And they're like, one of them's really getting the crap beat out of them. Yeah. So your instincts just kick in. You get in there, you separate it. And, you know, break it all up. They end up going their separate ways. The sentries step in and help out or whatever. But after that, the principal came in and he's like, hey, so we're going to need you to be on record to say that there were no other teachers around, that you didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, none of that's true. Yeah. And he's like, well, do you want a job here? I was like, not like that. And so, you know, it was just like, at that point, it's like, do you want to accept this? Or, you know, so after that, I was just like, you know what, I don't think this is right for me. Yeah. So it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And after that, I just never looked back.
I think they're so like they have to be so careful because they're publicly funded, right? And so my wife had a similar. She used to work in the schools,
Okay.
and she had a similar experience. Not exactly, but similar to where she just was like, man, I feel like the schools are kind of they're not really for the students; they're more for like making sure they can secure funding. And so, yeah,
That's tough. Because as a teacher, you take an ethic code, like to, to educate, to be there for them and everything. And then you get your hands tied.
Yeah.
Like what happens to your ethic morals that you are helping, right? And then you get punished for it or anything like that's just, doesn't make sense.
Again, I know that's just a microcosm and it's probably a far away removed example, but
Right.
it just, to me, that just left such a bad taste in my mouth that I was like, I got to figure something else out because I don't think I could do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my dad, being in real estate, he's been a broker for 20 some years now. Every summer when I was in college, I would come back and, work for him.
And he was here already.
He was here in San Diego.
Okay.
So I'd take the summers off and I'd, like every college kid, you either go party or you go work. And I'm not the party scene, so I'm going to go work. So I'd come out here and I would just do odd jobs for him, whether it was, painting houses or just general cleanup. It's all the back end of the real estate that nobody ever sees. It's the not so glamorous part of it. So I came out here just to help him with that and make some side money on that. And after a while, it was like I spent my last summer just after I graduated. I was doing a lot of handyman stuff and painting houses, and I very vividly remember there was a house that I was working on, and I spent probably a month and a half getting it ready. It was like scraping popcorn ceilings, repainting walls, blowing out kitchens, doing flooring, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of it, it's like, okay, I made a check for like $4 or $5 grand. And then my dad puts a sign on the lawn. Later that day, he's like, oh, I just brought a buyer in as you're finishing up your trim work.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just made 10 grand. I'm like, in like 20 minutes?
Yeah.
He's like,
wait a minute.
Yeah. You did all the back end.
So I'm like,
work,
wait,
yeah.
I did 2 months and made half of what you made in 20 minutes. I was like, I got to get your job.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started out for me. You're just out of college, you got college debt, and you're hungry.
Right.
So it started out of that. Obviously, it turned into something a lot more than just money.
Right.
But to me, that was kind of like a calling of at least like let's see where this goes. Let's see if we can make some money at this and do some good out in the world for it. So.
Yeah. Now, what time frame was this? Was like year wise?
So that was 2010. So that was when you had to learn how to sell a house.
Yep.
So I'm grateful that I got into the industry when I did because like I said, it was really hard to sell a property. You got 6-month listing contract. You get no offers during that time. You're arguing over an extension. I promise I'm going to do the right thing for you. Price reductions were common.
Yeah.
You were doing open houses every weekend. If you maybe had 2 people come in, you're like, hey, it was a good success today. We had two neighbors came in. They were just curious, but we got at least some people at the door.
Yeah.
So it was a much different time back then. So you had to learn how to market it. You had to learn how to get the property ready for sale. All of that really taught a lot of good things for me in the long run.
What were some of the marketing techniques back then that you
back then?
Yeah.
So at one point we were doing it where we had the flyer box out front and we had a little rider on the top of it, which was we would staple onto it. It was a little yellow piece of paper and it says, we live down the street. We can be here in 5 minutes. And I can't tell you how many people were out driving and they saw that piece of paper and they called us and they're like, can you really be here in 5 minutes? And we're like, yeah. It's like, I'm in, work clothes, but I'll be there in 5 minutes. And you go show it to them. And, 90% of the time it leads to nothing. But that 10% where they're like, you know what? We've been driving around here for a while. We actually called 3 other agents. They didn't even pick up their phone. But, let's go write an offer.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like a lot of the stuff that worked back then is still the stuff that's tried and true today that you still should be doing as an agent. Whether it's the door knocking or the door hangers or all the stuff that you're just marketing on the ground.
Yeah.
And so many people get caught up in all the external stuff that thinking there's like a magic sauce over here that, hey, if I start doing just all my efforts in this one little tech spot or whatever it is, that I'm going to be super successful.
Yeah. It is still all about hyperlocal. I mean, I live in Lake San Marcos.
Yeah.
That's my bread and butter. I live there. I work there. It's an awesome place to call home. So it's an easy sell for me that way where I love it. So that's still very much, it's true. And door knocking, that's still very much a thing. We actually have a listing going on the market today. My associate and I were co-listing that one. He's out this morning, door knocking half the neighborhood. I'm going over this afternoon. I'll hit the other half. Just inviting people to an open house this Saturday. And we do like a neighbor-only open house for an hour before the regular public.
Yeah.
So it does two things. One, it kind of gets the neighbors out of the way, because when you're there for the open house, you want to talk to the real buyers. But it also gives them a sense of feeling of like, okay, they're including us because we're part of the community, and we feel special because we get to see it before everybody else. So it's twofold that way. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love San Marcos. Like, it's definitely, especially Lake San Marcos, is such a cool little area. We almost bought there in 2020. There was a spot right as you enter in kind of the lake community. And it used to be I think a 55 and up, but then it switched. And now you have a ton of young families that are living there. So it's a really cool spot.
So 55 plus, it's actually a misnomer. There's so many people think, oh, all of Lake San Marcos used to be 55 plus. So we have 26 different HOAs inside Lake San Marcos, which is kind of wild to think about.
Say again?
We have 26 different HOAs.
26.
Yeah. So 3,200 homes, 26 HOAs.
Yeah.
And it's the benefit of that is you got all different types of communities, all different types of homes, all different price points, all different amenities, all of that. But only 4 of those are age restricted, and one of them is independent living, so it's a old folks home basically. But the rest of them are all no age restrictions. But so many people have seen Lake San Marcos for so long as, oh, that's the old folks home, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when my wife and I, we bought in there in 2012, and I think it was 26, 27 at the time, whatever it was, and everybody kind of looked at me like, You live here?
How'd you do that?
Yeah. How'd you? Well, the Grace.
It's the Grace.
Yeah.
I didn't have them back then, but we were definitely the new kids on the block.
Yeah.
So we like to say that we kind of rolled in the new wave of people that have come in there. But
Yeah,
certainly,
you started the trend for sure.
Yeah, but there's been so many good improvements in the area of the school districts, of Lake San Marcos itself. Like the whole development got bought, I think it was probably 7 or 8 years ago now. And they've pumped millions and millions of dollars into cleaning up the lake, doing the whole restaurant renovation, the hotel renovation. The golf courses are in pristine condition now. So,
Which golf courses?
there's 2 golf courses on it. Yeah, which one are they called this week?
Yeah.
I think it's the Links now. But yeah.
Okay.
So,
I won't say anything bad about the Links. I just played there this weekend. I'm sorry.
That's my home course. I like it.
There was some vandalism, by the way, on the course this last weekend.
What?
Yeah. The guys say it always when holiday season comes and the kids come back. There was an SUV on number 15 that drove all over the green.
No.
Yeah, and kids take their e-bikes and do everything. But I love that area. Oh my God, I hate the restaurant. But you're right, dude. That area is sneaky beautiful.
Do you have any hidden gems? Because
I
I
know,
always
right?
go to like certain restaurants, but is there anything?
Well, I got a question here about the restaurants because
okay.
I ChatGPT this, guys. Is San Marcos referred to as the culinary capital of North County?
Interesting. It's probably because of Old Restaurant Row, which
That's
is now
it.
being torn down.
It's being torn down.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
man.
completely redeveloping that. So from my understanding, it's going to be mixed use now. So they're going to have restaurants again. They're tearing it all down and redoing it.
Yeah.
But it'll be restaurants on the bottom floor with
high rises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's smart.
yeah.
We need the housing,
Yeah.
But they'll still probably have cool modern restaurants down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't go more chain restaurants down below. Like they brought in a Buffalo Wild Wings a couple of years back in that complex. And it's like, you got all these restaurants that have been there for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And then you're going to put a B-dubs right next to it.
All right.
Come on, man. Like,
Panda Express.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to your question, Nate. Sorry. What do you like to do there? What are some of the restaurants that you like, hidden gems, like you were saying? Like, what do you like?
I mean, definitely Amalfi, the restaurant there. I mean, if you're looking for good Italian food, you're not going to find a better place.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's phenomenal there. And then you just go down to the bar right down below, which you're on the water. You got the TVs and everything like that. They have live music there a couple nights a week. So if you're just looking for something to get away, to do something different, that's a great spot to go to. But I don't want to put too much of that out there because we're trying to keep it, as you said, a hidden gem.
Right.
That's what
Right.
makes it special. So I don't want to advertise this all over the internet.
Yeah,
so.
but you want people to buy in there because it's like you said, the schools, they put a lot of funding, they put a lot of golf courses.
I mean, they're A+ schools, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So when you have schools like that, you see a lot of buyers, a lot of young families coming in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then they also finished the river, or they call it the Creekside project now as well. So again, all of San Marcos itself is getting redeveloped. Now they got all kinds of pathways and stuff like that there. So there's a lot of different things going on. We got hospitals that are all close by. Cal State San Marcos around the corner as well, which is I think it's the only college in California right now with actual geography to expand to. So they keep actually growing and expanding the campus. Everywhere else is just landlocked and they don't have anywhere to go but up. But Cal State for the last 10 plus years has just been booming. It's been expanding out and bringing more people in. So
Yeah.
lots of good stuff.
Yeah. I love how they have, like, people don't know this, but there's like gondolas that will go around on the lake with like little Italian guys that row you around. Pretty cool spot, definitely.
Yeah.
My grandparents live on the lake too.
If you want a secret, and I probably shouldn't be telling this because I'm throwing them under the bus, but the gondola guys are not actually doing anything. They got a little propeller on the back of
Cheaters.
But do they sing?
I don't know. I've never done it before.
Oh,
but they've
okay.
they've got all kinds of different packages you can do it. We've seen a bunch of people where they've proposed to their girlfriend at the time, and
Yeah.
like they have the little message in the bottle where the gondola rider will like, oh, what's that in the water there? And it's they grab it out of the water, and it's a message from the boyfriend or the girlfriend proposing to her and stuff like that. So
That's
Yeah.
actually really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. So you're out in San Marcos. Are you coaching basketball now, or you coached back in the day?
Coached back in the day. I coached at Carlsbad High School for about 4 years.
Okay, so it was in the States here
Yeah.
in California.
Yeah.
I hate to revert back, but I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of want to touch base. But, you're talking about not being able to touch too many people. Don't say touch. Can't say we're not touching kids these days.
Influence.
Influence people in the classroom. Do you felt like when you are coaching basketball, you had more of an influence on these young kids?
Yeah, for sure. Because again, your class size went from 200 to
Right.
15 people on the team, so you got more one-on-one time with them, and it's. I always found that sports, it's kind of just one of those situations where it's baptism by fire.
Yep.
If you're the weak link on the team, you're either off the team or somebody else is picking you up and bringing you along with you and elevating you. So. I grew up playing sports my whole life, and so that was always important to me. And that was actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to become a teacher, was because I saw the option of like, okay, you can teach during the day and then coach at night.
100%, yeah.
And then I saw the idea of real estate where it's like, okay, well, we supposedly set our own schedules, so I would have the time.
24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's your schedule.
Yeah,
Supposedly.
as you
Yeah,
were saying,
yeah.
we're fourth quarter and we can't even set an hour long to do a podcast
Yeah,
because we're
right.
so busy. But I saw the idea of, okay, well, I can just set my own schedule and coach on the side, and just have that as the reason why I wanted to get into teaching in the first place. So, but yeah, it was definitely an opportunity where you had kids sometimes for like the class that I taught, they were freshmen all the way through seniors.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see them from start to finish throughout their high school career, and watch them go from like, a tiny little
Freshman,
I guess,
yeah.
freshman,
Yeah.
12, 13-year-old.
6'4", not
right.
tiny.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot
I
of
got
those
your
as
juice
freshmen.
down, I know, right?
But yeah, it was cool to grow up with them kind of thing through
Yeah.
the years. And there's still a lot of them that I'm actually still in contact with. One of the kids, actually, when my wife and I got married, he ended up being our photographer and videographer for our wedding.
Dude, isn't that the best?
He has just like the coolest little artistic style to him. And so when we were getting married, we're like, dude, we got to have Ethan do this, because if anybody's going to do it, he's going to understand it better than
Yeah,
me.
that's so cool.
100%.
I feel like you're saying too, like you have 4 years to make an impact on these kids' lives. So it's a lot better than, you're a biology teacher for juniors or sophomores or whatever it is, and you have, 1 year with them, or basically one class with them.
Yeah, sometimes 6 months is the most you're going to get.
Right.
Well, and
right.
you have 15 kids that are excited to be where they're at.
Yeah.
You take over that part of their, because in that I got a middle school right now and like going to go to high school, but you kind of take over that role as like, I know she doesn't want to be around me, but I know she wants to be around like other mentors in her life, and you take over that role, and it's so amazing. So I know, just like sitting here talking to you right now, you got some great core values. Tell me a little bit about how your core values, not even being, going to school for education, coaching, and now you have your own real estate team, right? Tenfold. Tell me about how all that came about.
So you're saying core values are we have 10 core values on our team, and our number one is teamwork. So it's collaboration over competition. And don't get me wrong, there's still competition on the team because you need that, but it's collaborative competition, if you want to call it that, where we're all competing against each other to lift each other up, not to like, hey, get out of here. So I'm always going to keep our team small because I want to keep it tight knit and all of that. But that's definitely, again, that's number one for us.
Yeah.
But how we got here, I've now been a licensed agent for coming up on 15 years.
Wow. You don't even look that old. Like, how old are you, man?
38.
38.
Yeah. So I definitely started
You're definitely
young.
not old. You look great.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's definitely started young, started, like I said, right out of college. And it was funny when I first started out, there were a lot of future clients that looked at me like, who is this kid?
You're right.
He's got no experience, bunch of college debt. He probably just wants to sell me the first thing he sees. And, honestly, rightfully so. Like, I look back at the beginning stages of my career, and those clients that turned and ran, they did so for a reason. You know? But after many years of doing this, I still feel like I'm new and fresh and young. But there's definitely a different kind of perspective and experience that comes along with it. So,
because now you guys are homeowners, so you see the difference, you see the impact that it has.
Yeah.
And
Did it help you with like running a team, being a real estate agent, going through that process on your own as well?
Yeah, for sure. Just going through the trials and tribulations alone. But at the same time, we were always part of the team. As I was saying, my dad's been a broker for 20 some years, so I've always been on his team. So he's always been the coach, the leader, the top dog, the whatever you want to call it. He was that. He was the mentor. He taught me everything that I know about real estate and then some. And as I said, I've been learning it all through college as well, because even though I was off of college, I was watching what he was doing, just soaking it up like a sponge. So he got to a point where, he was getting older, and he's like, you know what, I'm eventually going to want to retire. I'm not going to do this forever. Do you have any thoughts of taking over? And so I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, I think this is a good career path for me. And so over especially the last 5 years, we've been working on that whole transition period. And about 2-3 years ago, we got approached by Side Incorporated, and they said, we want you to join our team. You're going to be your own team underneath us. You run it however you want. You'll be your own independent brokerage, but we want to be there to support you. We want to be there on the side with you.
Right.
And we thought that was great because we saw where the market was going. We saw, companies like Compass and EXP that are bringing in all this technology, which as a small independent organization, we didn't have. We had all of the back end stuff. We had the community aspect of it, but we didn't have that high tech stuff. So we joined them, and that was when we rebranded, and that's when we came up with Tenfold Real Estate. And the idea behind Tenfold for me was when you give, you receive back tenfold. So when I look at us now, I don't see us necessarily as a real estate company. I see us as a philanthropy company that does and sells real estate. And the key for that is just giving back to the community in any way we can. So when I was coaching, I had a whole kind of, if you want to call it, a scholarship foundation set up, where any parents that would refer me business, I would give $1,000 to their kids for their scholarship foundation.
that's cool.
That is cool.
So it was definitely, looking back on it, after a property closes, you go there with the big check, which was always fun for the kids because, like $1,000 when you're in high school, it's like, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, stoked.
So that to me was kind of the first step of like, okay, how can I expand on this and grow this? So we're not ready to unveil it yet, but we're working on a whole philanthropy program where we're going to be giving a sizable amount of our commissions to charities of our choice or to the buyers and sellers' choice. Still in the works, but confident we'll be able to roll that out this year or this coming year.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Because I think we do, this industry gets a bad rap because of the commissions, the whole nonsense.
TV shows.
The TV shows, the NARS element, and we talked, you said it briefly right there, like, oh, I thought I could make my own schedule. Mm-hmm. People out there, there's no making your own schedule.
Yeah.
It's your life.
It's your life.
It becomes your life.
We talk about this, and maybe people don't know, but what you're doing now, it benefits you 3, 6, a year from now.
Yeah, even
right?
further out than that.
Even further out. So if you're not grinding now for those clients later, if you're focused only on the now, then your business shuts down tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. And I look back on it, it's like 15 years ago when I first started, I was grinding it out every weekend. It was a hard talk with my wife and my girlfriend at the time, where it was like, hey, I know you want to go travel. I know we want to, hang out during the weekends. I know you want to go do this. I know we want to hang out and do all of these different things, but it's like, I got to go work. And it was tough as she grew up in kind of middle America where it was like 9 to 5, you clock in, clock out. And then, answering the phone after hours was not a thing.
Yeah.
So we'd be out, and she still kind of shares this story where it's like, it took her a while to figure out and get it, where it was like, we'd be out shopping for groceries or doing whatever. And my phone would ring. I'm like, I got to take this. And it'd be Saturday at 4:00.
Right.
And take it. And maybe that turns into money. Maybe not. Maybe it turns into a future client. Who knows? But
maybe it's just someone pissed off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's making sure I'm not in a lawsuit. You just never know. But you got to pick up those calls. And so it took her a while to understand it and to kind of see the bigger vision that I had. But I was fortunate early on in my life to have that vision of like,
Right.
I'm going to grind now at the age of 20 to 25 so that 30 to 35 is much easier. And then 40 to 50 is going to be like, okay, we're set.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point there, I mean, it's like you got to grind it out. And the moment you stop, that's actually another one of our core values. Success is rented. I love that term. And the idea behind it is, I don't care what you did last year. I don't care what you did last month. What are you doing today? Like, rent is due. You don't own your ownership. You don't own your success.
Yeah.
It's always rented. So if you're not doing anything for it now, it doesn't matter. You're screwed in 6 months from now because it's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, I like that.
That's cool. I want to hear all the core values, but I think it has to be set out there. If you're in this industry and if you don't have a partner that's in this industry with you, you need to have someone that's supportive. She's not in the industry, is she?
No, she's not.
Yeah.
But she's now in her own entrepreneurship industry.
Yeah.
So
she's
she saw it as I was unfolding it.
Yeah.
And then realized like, okay, it's doable.
Yeah.
And I think by me being in it to start with, she saw that, okay, I can step into that atmosphere as well and be successful.
Yeah.
So.
Because it's tough as a partner in that, supporting that person that's in that industry is being like mid-conversation. Like if you and me were doing this podcast right now and my phone rang, I'm like, hold on. You just have to accept it sometimes and knowing that it's going to help your growth later and stuff like that. But for some people, it's hard.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and there's still a lot of times where it's, again, Friday night at 7:00, you get a phone call or you get a text message or an email and you're like, I know we're watching this movie. Can we just pause it? I got to go.
Yeah.
Because if I don't pause it now and I don't go handle this email, I'm going to be thinking about it the whole time. So it's like, let's just pause this for a second. It's inconvenient. I do it to her. She does it to me, but you get it out of the way and then you can just kind of turn it off and be back to being present to where you're at.
Come back to the movie and she's asleep on the couch.
Oh, that's never happened.
That's never happened. Well, dude, I love where you're going with your company, your core values. Let's talk about your core values. So you've listed 2 so far. You said you have 10.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit more? I mean, only if you want to.
I won't give you all 10.
Okay, don't give me all 10, but give me, like, I love teamwork. The right way is the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like collaboration is
For sure.
the best.
Yeah.
Like if Nate and I work closely, shout out to Nate who grinds. But by the way, we never even talk about what you do. Well, people just probably see you on here. They're like,
I just fly around
who's
by the
this
seat of my
co-host? They don't know what you do.
No, let's talk about it then. Let's get
No,
it
but I'm
involved.
saying like you and me, we have a good time together because we can come in and you can bounce ideas off me. I can bounce ideas off you. And we love being around each other because of that. And if you don't have that, if you just have competitiveness and you just have one person that's just like, this is how it's got to be, or this is, and as an owner of a business, you're not like that. You're like, yeah, let's go. That's the way to run a successful team.
For sure.
Basketball, education, real estate, like anything, right?
Yeah, I feel like it would be impossible to be honestly solo in this industry in any facet, whether it's our side or as an agent. I feel like there's no going at it on your own. And there is people that go alone, but they often have or pay for coaching. They pay for people to help push them and stay accountable. So there's no being alone in this industry.
No, for sure. And it's a very successful road, or a very lonely road, I should say, because when you're on the top, it's it's lonely at the top. They always say that, and I'm definitely nowhere near the top. But every stage, every leap that you take to get up to that next level, it's scary, it's tiring, but it all pays off at the end. But
Yeah. Well, give us just one, because you have 10. Give us one more core that you really love.
Well, actually, our second core value is philanthropy. And so again, I kind of touched a little bit
Yeah.
about that. We've done a lot of work over the years with veterans, things like that. Just whatever way we can. It's donating furniture to them. It's financial contributions, whatever it is. Being in San Diego, that's, I think, just so important. But yeah, I'm super excited about rolling out that philanthropy program. So we'll see where that goes in the future.
It's so crazy how empowering it is. I haven't done any massive charity things just on my own, but we just had a pretty successful charity event here at the clubhouse, which was pretty cool. And just knowing the impact that made on so many people. We raised, how much money did we raise at that?
I think over $2,000 just by, I don't want to say we threw it together in a month, but we had the discussions. It popped up over just hanging out in the clubhouse. We were like, let's do this. We don't, it's a good time of year to get back to feeding San Diego because, it's Thanksgiving, and let's feed some more people. And in this industry, we're very lucky to have what we have. And like you're doing right now, like giving back is huge, and people love giving back. And so we were able to raise, I think that was over 4,000, maybe more meals we were able to do.
Yeah.
And it was just the people that came out and supported us was just incredible.
Yeah, it was a really good time.
Yeah.
And to know that you had an impact on, 4,000 people, like that was a really good feeling. And I can, when you're doing it on your own and you have, you're giving away part of what you make. What's David Ramsey said, like 10% of your paycheck should go to tithing or should go to, charity. So,
yeah. And it's the ripple effect from that as well, right? Where he's
100%.
saying, like, if you feed 4,000 people, what are those 4,000 people then going to be able to do to help the next 4,000 people?
Right.
And to watch that just expand outward is a pretty awesome feeling. And sometimes it's like just that first domino that you push. It can feel so little to you, but then you watch all of the dominoes that fall behind it. You're like, okay, that was kind of a pretty rewarding experience.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about creating a legacy as well. Like, do you want your legacy to be about how many homes you sold or how many millions of volume that you've done? Like, nobody cares about that at the end of the day. But if you can look back at it and be like, well, I was able to use that skill that I developed from real estate, and I was able to use my finances and my resources to help X amount of people, or, save so many pets, or, clean up this much garbage off the beach, or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think that's the legacy that you want to create. And that's ultimately what it's all about.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, 100%. We live here, man.
Yeah.
We want to clean it up. We want to make it look good. We want to make people feel good. And like you said, it just goes, pay it forward.
Yeah.
It just keeps going down the road.
Yeah. And that was, looking back on it, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get into real estate. Is my dad is a very wise person, and he said, if you have two career paths, one is one that's very rewarding, that barely pays your bills, or you have the one that is very lucrative, that maybe not you get a lot of enjoyment out of, which way do you want to go? And I was like, well, rewarding sounds awesome, but if I'm not feeding my family, or if I'm barely making it by, am I going to be happy? It's like, no. And he said, so if you go down the lucrative path, then all you have to do is take the money that you make and make something rewarding out of it.
Yeah.
So I think that by going down the path that we're at now, it's so much better to not only, like, just as a core thing to help your clients. Like, I look at real estate, that's the most stressful moment of somebody's life is buying or selling a home. It's one of the top 5 things, right?
Oh, 100%.
So to kind of take away some of that emotion out of it, and to help them get from point A to point B, like stepping back, like, as I was saying with teachers, it's like you only help a small percentage. But when I'm selling real estate, I can make it where I'm only helping so many people at a time. I don't have to help 100 clients at a time. I'm only focusing on like 5 or 10 at a time, and I can donate all my time and energy to those people, and to just make sure that my success rate is 100%. That
Right.
to me was the most attractive thing about real estate, was
Yeah.
such a small sample size to be able to do what we need to do.
And it's so impactful, and where it's kind of I love this podcast. We just talk about, when I started this podcast, I asked you about what's a memory you had when you're young, right?
Yeah.
You putting these people in the right home that they can afford, that they could either their forever home or their first home, and then they start building their family, which you have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But you're getting out there, you're gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
Kids maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Putting them in the home that their kids can enjoy their first Christmas, their first Thanksgiving, their first, whatever it is, and building those core memories is so priceless, right? So you're not just touching like what we think about just a paycheck. We don't. We touch all these people's lives for forever.
For sure.
Right? You remember that first time you moved
Yeah.
into your first home. I still remember my childhood home. Do you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sure do.
I dream about it still. That's what's weird. Maybe it's because I'm more of cutting the lawn because my dad did
Yeah.
every weekend. But
Yeah.
but you create memories, and I think that's fantastic.
For sure.
Well,
I
and it's funny too. Like if you look at some of the best real estate professionals, they came from education or coaching
I was just gonna say, dude,
or
he
service
is so.
providers. Yeah, it's like
You were meant for this. Like it's so good. You have that personal touch. You're right.
yeah, and you're technically, I mean, you wear a lot of hats as a real estate professional.
Yeah.
So you're still an educator.
Yeah.
You're still a coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're a shrink.
Yeah, definitely a therapist more than I want to
Yeah.
admit.
Right.
Sometimes a babysitter. If people
Yeah.
are in an open house with their kid, you're like, don't jump on that.
Yeah, but most of all, you're an advisor. You're there to kind of hold hands and walk people through that whole experience
Right.
because I can't make a decision for you, and I don't want to. You don't want me to.
Right.
I'm here to provide the information for you to allow you to make the best decision for you and your family.
Yeah.
I had a client the other day text me and say, we're really thinking about this home, but it's really far away and blah, 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 and like all of these different kind of like what if scenarios. And she finished by saying, "What would you do?" And I was like, I can't answer that for you.
Yeah.
Only you can answer that.
100%.
I can tell you what questions to ask so that you can feel comfortable either saying yes or no to it. But I'm not going to tell you, yeah, you should do that, because I'd never be able to sleep at night if in 6 months they call me, they're like, yeah, you know what, this just isn't working out.
Right.
That's not who we are. But it's all about empowering people to make decisions that make sense for them.
Do you think partnering with the right people too? And I'm only saying this, and I'm not trying to plug us or anything, but as a real estate professional, do you think partnering with lenders, title, escrow help out a ton?
1,000% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'll give you guys the plug. I mean, New Venture has been
Appreciate
awesome, man. I mean, Trisha Jones has knocked it out of the park for us.
Yeah.
We've never had a bad experience with her. We ask her for something, and it's done. So it allows me to just, as you were saying, take that hat off and put the next one on that I need, so that I'm not like double checking, like, hey, is she going to get this done? Are there going to be any complications with escrow or with title or with the termite inspector or with this or with that? We have burned a lot of bridges over the year where it's just like you get a one-strike policy with us, and if you burn us once, we're done. Like there's no going back to it, because our reputation is everything. And so you burn our reputation once, and it's so hard to come back from that.
It is.
So when we partner with somebody, we need to make sure that they 1,000% have our back, and vice versa. We need to make sure that they are comfortable with us, so that they don't feel like, hey, are they ever going to put us in a situation where we have to tread the line of ethics or morality or whatever. But thankfully we've never had to go down that path, but it's been good.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, and we appreciate you. Obviously, I mean, Trisha's a gem to work with. We've got several escrow officers, so having someone like Trisha with her personality and how much fun she is, but also knowing her stuff, and being able to get it done.
Yeah. I don't know how she does it, to be honest. As a one-person
Me neither.
show, I mean,
I don't know how any escrow officer does anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting here having a good time, and they're grinding and making sure that files are closing, everything's in the right order, and it's
if I was in her position, I'd have a lot more grays than I do. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'd be full on.
Or you'd be like me.
full
just-
Santa Claus
you'd
right
be
now.
like me, just bald.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, I love it, man. Thanks for everything that you bringing to this podcast. Everything you do, I think your ethics, your morals, your core values are just the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's so amazing to see real estate professionals like you doing what you do.
appreciate it.
I do want to touch base a little bit, go back real quick on the technology.
Mm-hmm.
So you started in 2010.
Yeah.
You door knocking. Maybe MySpace was around. Facebook, you weren't using it for
Not getting
any.
a lot of business off MySpace. Let's put it that way.
No, not at all. Technology's changed, and we're embracing it, right? You have to. It's not going anywhere. All this cool new gadgets, stuff like that. Sometimes everybody's so worried about AI is taking over the world, but it's coming. We can't stop it. How did you embrace it? Because 2012, I think Instagram started. And how do you use that in your business now?
There's a lot of agents who are going to go out there and they're making a killing off of Instagram, still on Facebook, even though it's a little bit more dated. TikTok, Threads, all of the different platforms. You can just donate all your time and energy into that and make a business out of it. That's not me. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I will ever be. But it's using it as a tool to stay in front of your clients so that they can see what you're doing and how you're contributing to the community. To be honest, I don't put a lot of time and energy into it though.
I don't know though. You do a good job.
I appreciate
I went through your Instagram. No, you do a great job. You do stay in front of people. You do give out information. You give out and then you touch. What I think you do great is that you give out that information that needs to be given to people. You show what you're doing, which is homes and what's on the market, what you're producing, and then you show a little bit of like who you are. Getting sick in Mexico, your little, cuddling up against your cat. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you do a great job. So don't disservice yourself about doing any of that.
I think social media is there to be social. It's to tell a story. It's not there as a marketing tool necessarily, but it's there to help you realize, like, do you connect with this person or not?
Yeah.
But thank you. It's, I've had Instagram since 2012, back when it was like,
you started it.
Yeah. It was a filter app where like you'd put cool filters.
Okay. Now I got to go all the way back.
And you'd get one like and you'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
or you didn't really care because it was just like, just posting a picture.
It was there to put a filter on your camera or on your picture so you could keep it on your phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much like a social media platform at all.
But you've seen it grow. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is you've seen the whole. I've door knocked. I put. You saw what your dad did. Yeah. You had to really work what we talked about before. Work at getting business.
Yeah.
To now you've seen like, okay, it just gave me a filter. This picture. Now I can kind of use it for my business. I can stay in front of people. You're hiring. We'll talk about that a little bit. But you need to know it because you're going to start having agents that come to you that are good at it, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely putting that hat on to be able to talk with them of like, here's what you should do to improve.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I'm not a social media expert. So it's always, if you're not the smartest person in the room, then hire somebody who is. So it's going to be going down that path of like, I think in our industry, because we have so many hats that we have to put on, there's no reason for you to say, I'm the social media expert.
Yeah.
It's because if you're the social media expert this month, next month, the algorithm changes and you've got to
100%.
So there's no way to be able to say, okay, I'm going to always be on the forefront of that.
Yeah.
Because we, at the end of the day, we're not making money from social media. We're making money selling houses. So I'd rather just farm that out to somebody who knows what they're doing and who can just put all their time and attention on that. It's the same thing for me where no shade for a lot of these realtors, but when they're a realtor and a lender, I'm like, but how can you be an expert at both? Because they're both constantly changing. They're both constantly evolving. So we have good partnerships with a really good lender. And anytime a client calls me, they're like, what do you think about, rates where they're at? I'm like, I don't even know where rates are at today. Call her and talk to her because she's going to be able to get you in touch with exactly where things are right now. And it's just, again, taking that stress off of me where I know somebody's got it handled. But certainly there's a lot of ways that you can evolve your business. I still find that the tried and tested ways are the best. It's being shoulder to shoulder with your community. It's getting in front of people and open houses they're still killing it.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. There's this thing that I read the other day. It was like marketing killed everything. And when you think from like back from when there was only radio started out as a way to give news, and then advertisers started advertising on it. Mm-hmm. And people started to kind of just like, hey, how do I fast forward through radio or not listen to it because it's advertising? And then we had TV, and TV was for the news and broadcasting, and then advertisers got to it. And the same thing is happening with social media. At first, like you said, Instagram was this profile or this social media thing to just put pictures on and put filters through it. And no one really cared. There was no advertising, and same with Facebook. Mm-hmm. And now you have, AI, and I feel like AI is going to push everything back to being localized and making sure that you trust who you're using. because there's so much marketing and advertising on. I mean, you go to Instagram and you scroll and it's just ads all the time now. And so it makes you want, like, who do I really trust?
Yeah.
Do I trust these products? And so it kind of brings you back to your local market. Mm-hmm. At least that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I won't date myself, but video killed the radio star.
Yep.
It's coming. Yeah. We can't stop it. Yeah. You have to embrace it. And like I said, I think you're doing a great job. So, but to your point, hire the people that do it right, who can help your business. Like I said, partnerships are huge. Are you recruiting right now?
We are. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Some young blood.
Very, very quietly. Like, we're not just putting out ads all over the place.
Yeah.
We want it to be very organic.
For sure.
And I've always looked at it from the perspective of, if you just it's field of dreams, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So if we continue to build the atmosphere and the team, kind of philosophy that we have, then the right people will fall into place and they'll approach us. We're not going to ever be headhunting or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, and going back to what you were saying about marketing. So I learned this early on from my dad, and he never spent $1 on marketing.
Good for him.
Yeah. We never got down the path of like Google pay-per-click ads or anything like that. And so that's for us, that's how we justify the philanthropy aspect of it, rather than spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on getting new leads and new listings and new clients. We're just going to spend that time and energy and those resources on giving back to the community. And it just kind of all comes back to you.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather, it's the same thing. Like, I've never made cold calls. Like, I'm not going to be the guy that's just dialing through the white pages, or I don't even know realistically how all that's done. You can do the Red X and all the different Vulcan and all of that kind of stuff where you're getting these potential leads. Never gone down that path.
Yeah.
I'd much rather spend my Saturday helping a client, paint a bedroom or like declutter their house, and spending my time and energy that way on that one person than the potential of, okay, here's a list of 100 people, call them.
Right.
It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, calling 100 people and getting 100 no's, and then you could have helped a client that's going to keep giving you business, or referral business.
Only, yeah.
Referral business is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's made our life a lot easier too, because when you're going on these listing appointments, you're not having to go there and really pitch who you are.
They know you.
Oh, so and so told me about you. She said you walk on water. So it's you're walking in there and it's a done deal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, dude, I think that's how business should be done, right?
Yeah.
Face to face, handshakes.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go. I think we kind of coaching wise, just getting in there, getting your hands dirty, doing the dirty work. I admire you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's having an abundance mindset too, right? Where if you're in that scarcity mindset where it's like, oh, I got to call these people to maybe get business to, maybe pay my bills or whatever, that's one thing. But if you go into it, like you said, if I'm just going to go help my client and it'll all come back to me somehow, whether it's now or 6 months from here.
Tenfold.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah.
But it's kind of how it came out. And actually, I'll tell you the first client I ever had. So it was a couple. They came here. I met them at an open house. They flew in from Hawaii, and they were like, hey, we're shopping around. And they weren't actually shopping for a home that day. They were shopping for a realtor. And they told me this after like 2 or 3 months of working with them. They're like, yeah, we weren't ready to buy at this time, but we wanted to find the person that was going to work with us.
Yeah.
And so showed them around, showed them a bunch of places. Nothing worked. And we finally found their dream home, which was a new home construction. And again, 24, 25 years old at the time, $1 million home. And this is back in, 2012-ish, 11, 12. And $1 million home back then was like, it was special.
It was special.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Nowadays it's like $1 million. But it's contingent on them selling their house in Maui. And the builder, again, this was when nothing was selling. So the builder's like, yeah, we'll do whatever we can to get you in and sign all the paperwork. We're in escrow. Their house in Maui is in escrow, but it's a 6-month escrow for their house to close. And it's also 6 months for the new construction to be finished. So it all it's perfect. It's like kismet, and it's like, it's going to be awesome, right?
This is your first transaction?
Yeah. First transaction.
So cool.
6-month escrow.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, but it's new construction. So it's like you show up, you get everything signed that day, and then you're done.
Right.
And then it's just a wait. So we're sitting there, and about 2 weeks before we're scheduled to close, I get that call, and the buyers are like, hey, our house just fell out of escrow.
Oh, no.
So we got to cancel. So I called the builder, and fortunately I was actually able to get their deposit back, which is crazy after 5.5 months. But yeah, they just said, yeah, the buyer on it was actually a corporation, and then they decided to pull out last minute. So we're suing them. Long story. But so yeah, we canceled. And to go from like, hey, I've got like a $20-some thousand commission check coming in, I'm good. Like I'm set, this is 6 months worth of rent money and I've got food. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's gone.
Oh,
so learned very early on, like don't spend your money until it's actually seasoned in your account for a couple of days.
yeah.
But yeah, so long story short, probably 3 or 4 months or 3 or 4 years later, they called me and they're like, hey, we finally sold our house. We got paid out from that lawsuit or whatever. We want you to help us find a new home. So, 3 or 4 years later, ended up still being a sale. So it was kind of just like staying in touch with them and, sending them holiday cards, whatever it took to stay in front of them and stay that connected to them. Where a lot of agents, I'm sure, probably would have been like, well, I'm done with you. Let's just move on and cut our losses. But, it's building that relationship with them. And obviously they felt comfortable enough with me, years later to still use me. So,
but what'd they get for that $1 million a few years later? They went from a mansion to a condo.
Yeah, no, they still ended up buying in Rancho Santa Fe and
did
well. And, it's all good. But it's just kind of one of those stories where I think every agent has that first horror story, and you either recover from it or you don't.
Right.
But I think if you recover from it, then it's just, it's so much easier after that.
Yeah, a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Well, you learn from those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't learn from the successes.
Right.
I don't think. I mean, just as like a coach, right?
Yeah.
You don't learn from the last shot you miss, or you learn from the last shot you miss. You don't learn from like,
right.
Oh, I had a 40-point game. It was super easy, but you learn from that, like last second, give me the ball, 3 seconds left to win the game, and you miss it, and you just let your whole team down. You're like, okay, what's the next scenario like if that happens again, right? You learn.
Yeah.
You learn from it.
Well, you don't learn by blowing a team out by 40. You learn very little that game.
Yep.
You learn from losing by 5. You learn by losing on a buzzer beater, like you said. You learn by losing by 40, but you don't learn from blowing out a team and just garbage time. Just do whatever you want.
Yeah,
In fact, that probably does more damage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Learn
If your first home as a 18, 19-year-old kid, real estate agent walking in there is $1 million.
Yeah.
You're like golden.
That's what it's
like
gonna
you
be.
said, you spent it all. If you would have done that, like it just would have been a whole different story. And it just that's.
Well, that's, you look back at a lot of the people that got into the industry back in 2020 where you put a sign on the lawn, and if it isn't sold in the first hour, you're like, you're panicking.
Yeah, with 20 offers.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was fortunate, and I'm so thankful that I got into the industry when I did, because as I said in the beginning, this you learn how to sell. You learned what it took to prepare a property for sale, which is, I think, one thing that we do better than most is making sure that there's no stone unturned. Make sure that the property shows in the best possible light so that you're at least giving the seller a chance. Whether the price is right or not, you're at least giving them a chance to get it sold, to get it sold for the most money. Mm-hmm. We do, I'm sure you saw on our social media, we do a lot of pre-sale renovations.
Right.
So we have, again, in the lake, we got 1960s, 1970s vintage homes. And they've got great bones, but a lot of them are still from the 1960s, 1970s, like the shag carpet. We see that more than often. Popcorn ceilings, old kitchens, like the DeLorean-style ovens that pop up and everything like that. So we've seen it all. And if you just put a sign on the lawn without clearing it out, without doing the work, you're really doing your clients a disservice. So we've partnered with a lot of good contractors and painters and handymen and plumbers and electricians and all of that, where we can go to our clients and say, hey, we sell it now for $1 million, or we put in, let's say, we've done small jobs where it's like, let's put in $5,000 and make you another 15, 20.
Yeah.
Or it's, let's put in $100,000. And, if you got the money to do it, we'll put in $100,000, we'll make you 200. And, you're talking about somebody, a lot of these clients are older. This is their retirement fund. And so to tell somebody like, hey, we can make you an extra $100,000 to, either travel more or have the peace of mind to know
Right.
that like you're set, to have more money to go towards your grandkids when you're gone. Like there's so many different avenues that you can say like, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And to have the team that we have where we can just say like, hey, we're telling you it's going to be $100,000. It's going to be $100,000. It's not like, okay, well, we're saying it's $100,000, and then at the end of the day, it's 130, 140,
Yeah.
and then we're going to make you 160. It's like, it's none of that. So when we give you a number, you can basically take that to the bank.
Yeah.
And it's not fluffing the numbers. It's being realistic with them of not saying like, hey, we're going to sell it for $1.7 million now. It's being realistic with them up front and saying like, this is the option. And if you decide to go down that, great. If not, we're not going to push you into that. Like
Right.
it's easier for us to just put us on the lawn. It's a lot of work for us to, basically manage these projects, but it's rewarding and fulfilling in that way.
Oh yeah, having options to be able to provide and be that resource is definitely important to making that relationship a trustworthy one with your clients.
Yeah, it's good to know too. I mean, I don't know how you keep track of 26 HOAs, but like a lot of people in those HOAs too have a lot of equity into their house too, or a lot of equity that they can use, if not have paid it off, that can make those changes.
Yeah, for sure.
And help out. So that's really cool that they have that with you as well.
And it's also knowing which HOAs are going to be easy to work with and which ones are not.
100%.
We've gone into those where there's a few, and I won't tell you which ones, but there's a few of them that are not easy to work with.
100%.
So then it's kind of advising your clients, like, maybe let's not do that, bust out the wall. Let's not do that.
Yeah, because then you got to know that stuff, because that little bust out the wall could be a year project.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want to sell sooner than later.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, thanks for coming on the show, dude. We've been talking for an hour and 6 minutes, which seems like we just started this podcast,
Yeah.
which is so cool. But I want to ask you one question. I know we kind of already talked about this, but coming at the end of the year, what's next for you, 2025?
That's a good question.
Traveling, family, anything, man. Like what do you see yourself doing the next few months?
So, you were talking about kids earlier. That's one of our goals, my wife and I.
I didn't want to put any pressure on you.
Oh, no,
or
for
your
sure.
wife,
No,
by
for
the
sure.
way.
And, I'll be completely transparent because we've been open in sharing about this.
Yeah.
We've been trying to have a kid for the last year now. We've had a number of miscarriages, and
I'm sorry, man.
thank you. But I'm very open about it because I realized after our first miscarriage how many people have actually had them.
100%.
And this is not a real estate podcast to talk about it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. It's okay.
But it's also, it's one of those things where nobody talks about it. And I just want to put it out there because I felt so alone after the first one. And then once you start realizing it's almost like a fraternity, like almost everybody that I know has gone through a situation like this, or they know somebody who's gone through something like this. So I'm open to talking about it because I hope that somebody hears that message and, when the time comes where they want to have a family, they know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely something where, fortunately my wife is healthy and happy, and we're hoping to grow a family this coming year. So.
Yeah. It's crazy you say that because my cousin, they struggled with that same thing. And he's a country singer in Nashville. Stephen Ray is his name. And he has a song about that.
Yeah.
And he has a song, basically, he felt the exact same way. Like at first he's alone, and like this was something that just they're experiencing, and and he found out that there's actually a big community of people that come together in that instance. And he has it's a really cool song, so I'll have to share it with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's even like as close as family. Like there's been a lot of family that I've talked to. They're like, oh yeah, we dealt with that too. It's like, wait, really? How come
It's so scary that people they don't feel like they can share that, which is incredible. And I'm glad. Trust me, dude, this is the podcast, because we real estate, this is all about you. And I absolutely love, I got chills when you were talking about it, I don't know, dude, it's sad that men feel like they can't have an outlet for stuff like this.
Honestly, I don't push that on people. Everybody goes through their own journey. I'm not going to tell you this is what you should do. You should share your story too, because again, it's so personal that I'm not the person to tell you got to do this, because it's your own journey. But for me, it felt empowering to be able to step up and say, you know what, we're in this together, and I'll help kind of shoulder some of your burden as well by being there as kind of the lightning rod to talk about this if that's what it takes. But it's been a challenging year for sure. But we're definitely looking to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
And we're excited about the future. I think it's going to be a lot more of the same as well, being able to travel some when we can. We're fortunate where, we're in a financial position where if we want to go travel, we can. It's just finding the time to take off. But, that's the other awesome thing about being part of a team as well is we all cover each other's backs. So if one of my associates is going out of town, I'm like, hey, I got your stuff for the week. And they do the same for me. So it's pretty awesome to be able to not feel like you're alone on an island. And you just say, okay, this week I'm out of town, turn my emails off and go do your thing. But,
yeah. Now I always say, like, every single year I want to have something that I could look back on and be like, 2024, this is what that year meant to me. 2025, what's that year going to be? Yeah. And so I like to try to make myself, like, even just a fun goal. And I have a goal to break 90 in golf.
Okay.
And
we can do that for you pretty easy. We got you.
Well, yeah, I actually put it to 85. I want to break 85. So that's my fun goal for 2025. If I can break 85, that would be pretty cool. Well, cool. Do you have anything like that?
I set lots of goals every year, and I keep in mind that your goals don't set who you are. Yeah. I actually posted about this the other day on Facebook, and it's like we're getting to that time of year where a lot of people are posting about the awards that they've won and the milestones that they've hit and the accomplishments that they've achieved. And you kind of have to step back and realize that not everybody is in that situation.
Yeah.
And for some people, a lot of people, this has been a really tough year. And you have to step back and realize you are not your goals. Your goals are there to help you get from point A to point B. And sometimes you don't hit your goals and you don't get all the way to point B, but you're past point A. And then sometimes that's all it takes is just baby steps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of years where, I doubled what I did from the year before and it felt fantastic. And then the next year I took a step back, or heaven forbid, I stayed the same. That's the hardest thing for a lot of people to understand. It's like, just because you didn't double your numbers or you didn't get all the way to your, stretch goal doesn't mean you're a failure. Right? Like, look at the big picture of like, are you doing good? Yeah, you're doing good. So who cares?
Well, some people don't look past that.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you were saying, like, this is the little goals. Like, what even you might have stayed the same.
Yeah.
But who did you help along the way?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what did you do along the way? Like, were you there for a family member that needed you?
Yeah.
In the time that they really needed you?
For sure.
That's ways more important sometimes than selling that next home. Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's good to, throughout the year, just check in with your goals and to see if they still ring true to what your goals are. Because, I think the biggest thing is, what's your why? And if your why changes throughout the year, if your why at the beginning of the year was, I got to make enough money to buy my next house, or to go on a vacation, or to do this, and then something else comes along in your life that's so much more important, then don't say, well, in January or in December of 2023, I decided that this was going to, who cares? Yeah. It's like, change it. You have to give yourself the leeway to be like, okay, this is my new goal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think for next year, my main goal is just kind of more of the same of continue to grow, continue to expand our business, to continue to help our teammates to get to where they want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like in our industry, like, time is it goes so fast because we live in goals. We live in 30-day escrows. We live in these things where it's like, oh, by this year I want to do this. And it's like you're kind of getting at, like, don't make it a year thing. Just adapt with life and change your goals if they need to be changed. If your why changes, like, just roll with it.
Yeah. And kind of like you were saying, it's we're looking at 6 months out. Yeah. So what we're doing now in December of 2024 really is not going to be felt until the summer of 2025 or longer.
Yep.
I've had some clients that I've been working with for the last 2 years that we still haven't signed a listing agreement. We still haven't signed a buyer rep agreement or whatever, but it's still like, okay, eventually that's going to happen. So it's planting that seed. So it's time is relative, like you were saying. It's really tough in our industry to look at, like, okay, what I do today isn't affecting tomorrow. It's affecting maybe next year.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's having the foresight to know that what you're doing now is going to help in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you do such a great job at it. Thank you again for taking the time spending with us today. It's been amazing. All your success. Congratulations. I'm super excited for 2025. And when you do get pregnant, we hope to be maybe one of the second or third to know, but
We got Uncle Levi over here.
yeah, I got Uncle Levi over here. But dude, I'm so happy for you and getting to
it.
know you better on this podcast. It's been such a pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
taking the
And
time.
again, thank New Venture Escrow for everything you guys do, because you definitely improve our jobs. You improve our clients' jobs, or all of our lives. So I appreciate it all.
Thank
We
you, man.
appreciate it. Yeah, we
Appreciate
love
that.
you guys. If you look at this camera, just tell people where they can find you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Find me on social media, Tyler Davidson on Facebook, at Prince Davidson on Instagram, Prince Davidson. So my mom's maiden name was Prince. A lot of people think
I was going to ask. I was like,
yeah.
no, that was good.
So again, one of the original Instagram guys. So
Yeah.
I got that name early on, and I was like, I can't change
Yeah,
it.
you can't change it.
Yeah,
It's
so
good.
it stayed that long. And then, just text me, call me, whatever you need, 760-390-0015.
Awesome. Thanks again, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. Thanks, Nate, for coming down from North County.
Always, yeah.
Where can they find you, Nate? I don't know.
You can find me on Instagram as well, Nathan Wood at NVE, or _ NVE. That's my Instagram handle. Just find me around. I've got my partner is my brother, so sometimes we have do stuff together. We have the Wood Brothers Escrow, so keep an eye out.
Yeah. All right, guys. So you can find this podcast, which is amazing. I can't wait to watch it again. On all the streaming platforms, YouTube, Spotify, ring that bell, come like us, send comments. We always love to hear from you guys, but thanks. And guys, thanks again for being on the What's Next podcast.
Let's go.